It was the largest ransom in U.S. history.
Absolutely no comment.
We know there's a ransom note, sir.
There is no comment.
The wife of an investment banker chained to a tree, $1 million in ransom money exchanged outside a bar in an alleyway. To this day, nobody knows who did it, and only a sliver of that $1 million was ever recovered. But that is not the strangest part of the case. This is the article that blew Watergate wide open. You know, the scandal that every other scandal today is named for. The highlight of this article is a $25,000 check that sealed Nixon's fate.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
But buried inside is one weird detail that nobody ever talks about. It's a quote from a Minnesotan named Kenneth Dahlberg. That quote is now sealed in cinematic history.
I've just been through a terrible ordeal. My neighbor's wife has been kidnapped.
That ordeal was America's most successful kidnapping. So how is that just a footnote in the story that brought down an American president? This is the story of the Virginia Piper kidnapping and its strange connection to the Watergate scandal. This case happened in 1972. What that means is that the older people in the case are now long dead. And so the only people who remember it today were too young to really be paying attention. People like Kurt Brown, a columnist of the Star Tribune.
Yeah, well, I was only 12 years old, for the record, when this happened. So I was in like 6th grade outside Chicago, so I didn't know about it either.
And he wrote an article about the kidnapping for the 50-year anniversary.
It just blew me away that here's a case in which no one ever was really caught. $1 million was given over in ransom, and yet very few people know about it. The more I dug deep and went into the kind of the rabbit holes, I just became kind of fascinated with this unsolved kidnapping case.
Life in the 1970s is so amazing.
The description on one wire service, master criminal.
You know, D.B. Cooper was getting ransom money and jumping out of a plane in the Pacific Northwest.
He seemed rather nice, and other than he wanted certain things to be done.
You know, Watergate was going on.
And I want to say this to the television audience. I have never profited from public service.
There was a lot in the news, but so this one got buried behind.
But today, let's zoom in on Virginia Piper. The Pipers, Bobby and Virginia, lived in Orono, Minnesota, one of an enclave of communities in the southwestern suburbs of the Twin Cities that have Lake Minnetonka near it. But it's also the playground for the rich. Even today, Orono is the wealthiest city in Minnesota. Bloomberg has even listed it as top 100 richest places in America.
Well, it was early in the afternoon on a summer day, and she was out in her garden in Orono, Minnesota, and she was deadheading her flowers, her pansies. She had 2 hired housekeepers who came and alerted her that 2 armed men, both pointing guns in both hands, had entered the house. You know, so I think they were coming after Harry, you know, her husband, but he was the CEO of Piper Jaffray, a brokerage firm, you know, so a very successful and rich guy. And maybe this was part of their poor planning, but they snatched his wife and figured, well, this will work, and it did work. Crammed her in the back of a green Monte Carlo coupe and took off.
They left this behind, a ransom note asking for $1 million in unmarked $20 bills divided into 4 separate packages packed into one large duffel bag.
You know, and back at the time in 1972, $1 million demand in a kidnapping was the most kidnappers had ever asked for in the FBI. And the fact that Bobby Piper could come up with 50,000 $20 bills, you know, basically in 24 hours is kind of staggering.
Like, he really has maybe 8 hours, probably 6 to find 50,000 banknotes.
Exactly. It just blows my mind.
Here's the thing, this is only the first part of the ransom note. We wanted to understand what he went through in 1972, so we tried our best to recreate his exact steps. Step 1, get a duffel bag. So I was looking at the bag that you brought in for us to do the ransom, and there's a big problem with it. Like, that's way too light. That duffel bag will weigh 110 pounds once all the money is put in there. But this is why prop money exists. I went online, I looked into it. Can I get $1 million in fake $20 bills? And the answer is, yeah, I can, for $15,000. So I don't think getting prop money is gonna work.
No.
So I have an idea. He's gonna come with me. Welcome to our office gym. This is a key. Oh my God. This poor guy trying to get his wife. Oh my God.
Really?
That's actually insane. I don't like this. Fuck my life. Don't help me. Nope. Nope. We wanted to retrace the steps of Virginia Piper's kidnapping in 1972, and so that begins at Virginia Piper's house. We went to the home of Virginia and Bobby in Orono, still standing today. This isn't the Piper house anymore, but it looks incredibly similar to the FBI pictures that were taken as evidence following the kidnapping. All right, so we are here.
445.
This is the house we've been reading about. We were a little on edge as we approached because of some significant acts of violence that had recently occurred for people connected to Minnesota. This is where you come if you have a crap load of money, and this is where the Pipers are from. We have these guys filming some drone shots right now just to capture the neighborhood. We're trying to replicate the ransom. Like, we can't actually get right up to the house without going into the property. Do we just go try to knock on the door and ask them though? And so we trekked up the front door and rang the buzzer. So the kidnappers would have had to come up this long road in order to do what they did. I mean, I'm literally feeling nervous right now, and we're just shooting a little movie, not doing anything wrong. We're just gonna go ask this guy if he wants to talk. All right, I can see the house now. Why don't you put down the camera?
Are you kind of nervous?
Yeah, I am.
Really nervous.
It's not, there's nothing wrong with going to ask someone if they want to shoot an interview, right? Hello? We're looking for the owner of this place right now, but he's not here, so. This is the garden. This would have been the garden that she was actually gardening at. She was right there, and they took her. Left a note there for her husband to find.
Was that invading someone's privacy?
What?
What we just did?
I don't know. I mean, we were not asked to leave. There's no trespassing signs that were violated. I mean, literally, in All the President's Men, they go to people's doors and they knock on the doors and they're like, we can't talk to you, and they slam the door in their face. Oh. We need to have the door slammed in our face to not go in. We can't self-censor because we just feel like, oh, what if they don't like us? But like, no one asked us to leave. People can knock on doors all the time. There's a doorbell right there with the presumption that people will come up and use it. Small museums can sometimes be the best museums. That is especially true here in Minnesota. The Bakken Museum is truly special. Founded by the inventor of the first external pacemaker, this place is focused on technological innovation and STEM research.
Hi, I'm Annika. A simpler version of it might be kind of a science museum, but we're a lot more than that.
Yeah, we were walking in the garden earlier and it felt like we were in Snow White.
Yeah.
We're like a little bunny and like a squirrel and birds everywhere and all that. Let's go in.
This is our static electricity party rooms.
Never, don't include that.
This is the first transistorized battery-powered portable pacemaker.
Wow, it just feels like I'm in the middle of a dense textbook and I love it. It's located here in South Minneapolis, just near B'day-Makaska, and you can find out more by going to thebakken.org. Virginia is taken on Thursday afternoon. Bobby surely has a sleepless night that night, worried about his wife.
Threats on your life or on your family at any other time?
No, none.
He's instructed to have a full tank of gas, the $1 million in the trunk, and no electronics anywhere in the car, and to wait for a call at 9:30. This is our starting trigger right here, because this is the spot where Ginny was taken, and this is the spot where the ransom began, the ransom treasure hunts began.
Yeah, it was this labyrinth of clues and ransom notes that had him scurrying all over the place.
Yeah.
Going from point A to point B to point C. It was a pretty convoluted path, kind of a labyrinth of clues.
And so we wanted to follow that convoluted path. We got in the car and set out to retrace the exact steps of Bobby Piper in 1972 to try to better understand what he went through. They say that they're going to ring him at 9:30, and it takes 9:36. There's 6 minutes of fear when there's no phone call. Then the phone rings. Bobby answers, hello, hello? Jenny says, Bobby? Yeah, hi. And you will see a sign that says Louisiana and Laurel, L-A-U-R-E-L. At the base of that signpost will be something for you to pick up. The call ends, and Bobby hangs up for whatever reason. The FBI told him not to hang up, but he did it anyway, so they couldn't actually trace the call. And so we have to go to the signpost at Laurel and Virginia. Oh, is it on here? 14 minutes away?
Yep.
Okay. But back then, this would have been pretty desolate, with a sign right here, and that's where the ransom note was. We're off. From the Piper house, the first stop is Laurel. And at Laurel Street, and this is where he gets a key piece of equipment, a radio. He's instructed to extend the antenna, put it on the dash, and this way the kidnappers will be able to follow his every move. His next step was Bridgman's, just down the street, an old ice cream shop.
We are here.
All right, so this is like the parking lot of the Bridgman's here?
This is the back. This is where Bridgman's used to be.
God, I wish it was still here. I'd go for a strawberry malt. They had a car for him to swap over with. They left the keys in that car, and they had him put the money in the new car. From here on out, the FBI wouldn't be able to follow him electronically. Now, the instructions would be found in a glove box, but he wasn't allowed to open them until he crossed the highway to the other side and continued reading. So now we're parked, now we're allowed to open the envelope and read the instructions. So let's do it. Just like Bobby would have done. Go east on 12 about 1.5 miles to Glenwood Parkway. The exit occurs on the right-hand side. You know what occurs to me when I'm reading this? This is the time before Google Maps. Because I'm reading this, like, these instructions are way too specific, but I've already forgotten what it was like to not have directions.
Totally.
At this point, he's instructed to go east to North Minneapolis to what's now Taco Bell.
Wendy's and Taco Bell.
All right, so we're here at the Wendy's drive-thru, which at the time was 4th, and this is where the next instructions were taped. Park your car as close as possible to and facing the building. Enter the Sportsman Bar through the back door. It's like we talk like in business, you talk about single points of failure, right? And this thing has like 17 single points of failure.
Right.
Which again speaks to kind of the skepticism that you have, like, really? All this stuff went that smoothly? All right, so we parked in the back. This is Meteor, which is like kind of an iconic bartender's bar. I'm Bobby Piper, and I'm trying to follow the instructions. That means I gotta go to the payphone. I go to the payphone, and I'm gonna imagine that payphone's in a corner, kind of like this, and I gotta call a number. And that number is, the number is now disconnected. And so it won't play the message for us again. That's interesting. So if I'm Bobby, I am panicked. I am racing out to the car right now to find my wife. I'm going out over here. I'm looking around the parking lot and I'm thinking, geez, there's less cars here, so probably the money's been taken from the trunk. And I get back in the car, go to Bloomington. This is where it loses me. How do you, if you are Bobby Piper, get back in that car without ever checking the trunk, without ever knowing if the money's been taken or it hasn't?
Is our money in there?
It's gone. That's there. It's there.
At this point, the instructions tell Bobby Piper to go clear to the other side of the city, down Lyndale Avenue to Bloomington. And yet when he's driving, he has a much lighter load. The money has been taken by the kidnappers.
Somehow, Harry made it through the labyrinth, and the money made it through. And so the whole thing kind of is a mind-blowing little case that has been largely forgotten.
The way this ransom was structured, it almost feels like a video game. And yet when all the levels were complete, Bobby Piper didn't get an end screen. He just had to wait, hoping that the kidnappers would release his wife. This is the part of the story that I find most difficult. Virginia Piper is taken, chained to a tree, and left there to die. She doesn't know if anyone's going to find her, and they take her to a pretty remote state park. She screams, but no one can hear her. She has to wait all night long, freezing, with only a light sweatshirt to keep her warm. I think about this story. I think about this moment in Virginia's life, and I, myself, would be starting to think about my kids, think about the end, think about making my peace with God. And now a new character enters the story, a preacher in northern Minnesota, living not far from where Virginia is chained up, receives a phone call from the kidnappers. That phone call gives very specific instructions about where she is.
So once they got their money, they must have had built enough of a relationship with Ginny Piper that they thought it was worth calling this pastor and telling authorities where to find her.
So I yelled, "Help!" and it was the FBI. And 5 of them came running through the underbrush. And I've never been so glad to see people as I was to see them.
The picture of Virginia Piper when she's recovered looks night and day different from the pictures of her from her wealthy socialite life before. She looks like a shadow of herself, someone who's been through the same kind of ordeal that prisoners of war went through.
Talking years later, 50 years later, to her sons, they said it really did have an effect on her throughout her life.
Yeah.
That she showed signs of what today we would call post-traumatic stress syndrome. So while on the outside she might have been cool and collected and obviously was relieved to have survived this ordeal, I think she carried those demons from the kidnapping around for the rest of her life.
At one point, this case had over 1,000 suspects, a seemingly impossible to solve case. So what happened to the money in the Virginia Piper case?
You mean, just follow the money?
The money in Watergate gets uncovered and Nixon exposed by the reporters following the money. And so maybe that's what needs to happen right here in the Virginia Piper case. What happened to that ransom money? So we're at the Gale Library, a place that we find ourselves a lot for Hidden Middle because this is the repository of all things Minnesota. So that's actually 19 of these boxes here of Piper papers, if you can believe it. Let's check them out. Here we go. These are ransom bills. Whoa. Your cooperation is requested to assist the FBI in the solution of the Piper kidnapping. And they offer a $50,000 reward. This is so funny. This is insane. So this is every single serial number on every single banknote in the $1 million. And it's, it's hilarious. 120 pages. Look at this. They're expecting like a random bank teller to just remember these serial numbers of one of the most common bills out there.
But of that $1 million, about $4,000 of $20 bills showed up in southern Minnesota banks from Owatonna to Rochester to Kaysen.
It worked.
It worked? No.
Yes.
How?
That's how they found the $4,000.
It was in the small town of Austin, Minnesota, where money from the ransom ended up inside this bank building right behind me. It was able to be identified thanks to an FBI list of serial numbers, 50,000 of them put out to correspond to all the $20 bills in the ransom. And that is the reason that we have a police sketch for who we think did the Piper kidnapping. This man is out here. He was never convicted and never tried. Somebody knows who he is, if he's even still alive.
You know, so there's just so many questions that remain. It would be great to be answered, and I think all of the Piper children wish that there'd be some closure and someone would at least kind of wrap this case up.
An era of a mysterious man skydiving out of an airplane, of a media mogul, John Paul Getty, having a grandkid be kidnapped. There are movies made about all of these things, but not the Piper kidnapping. The closest thing we have to it is the Coen brothers movie Fargo, a movie that obviously borrows from the Piper kidnapping, but diverges with where the plot goes.
You'd have to talk to the Coen brothers to see how influenced they were, but they certainly would have been the age to be kind of captivated by the details of the Virginia Piper kidnapping.
But the Virginia Piper kidnapping, it has not had its moment in the spotlight, at least not since the 70s. Maybe it's time that we reclaim the story. It's time that we think about it again. It's time for it to get its Hollywood treatment. And maybe by paying a bit more attention to it, we might just find out who did it.